Forward Live, and this is the show, the podcast, the live stream, whatever you want to call it, where we talk about real shit, real solutions to real problems. Because honestly, nobody needs any more abstract or conceptual shit. It's like, honestly, if it doesn't help, it's not helpful. And that's kind of like where I am. And so today is a special day in the world of Christendom. This is Easter Sunday or Resurrection Sunday if you're a more progressive Christian. And it's where we celebrate, or not we, let me walk that back, where it is celebrated that Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Now, I'm not going to get too much into that. I'm going to touch on it briefly because it's really kind of important. But first of all, the whole thing about Jesus is a myth. Now, I would recommend that you check out some books by Richard Carrier or David Fitzgerald and get some info on that, because first of all, that's a myth, and then second of all, the resurrection is a myth, and this was all put together for the sole purpose of giving poor people hope for something better after they die, because life in medieval Europe was really shitty. And that's really what it is. Now, that's as deep as I'm going to get into this, but the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we're taught that, that we have to celebrate that this resurrection is a thing. And if you ask any undertaker, ask any mortician, ask any embalmer, that what is dead is dead. Now, there were some novels written in the late 1800s by Mary Shelley and Bram Stoker, respectfully Frankenstein and Dracula. And these books dealt specifically with what happens when you try to raise things from the dead. It doesn't go well. And let me just say this. Let me go back to the Christian thing for just a second, because allegedly Jesus rose or resurrected three people beside himself. That's the story, right? Not any one of these motherfuckers had anything to say about what was on the other side. And you would think that this would be key to the whole doctrinal picture, but it never surfaced. Never there, and so there's no evidence. There's no evidence of any resurrection. Okay, and again, when you start talking about bringing things back from the dead, you're getting into some really horrible ethical territory. Let me stop there, because I could go down a rabbit hole with that, and I really don't want to. I want to help you this Sunday afternoon, and it's this. You've been told that you were dead in your sins. You've been told that your mind is dead to the Creator and all of these other things. And what I want to tell you is, if you can hear this, if you can see this, if you can perceive this in any way, let me tell you the good news: you are alive. You're alive. And what that means is that where there is life, there is hope. Let me say that again. Where there is life, there's hope. And you don't need to be resurrected from anything if you are alive. See, this is a lie that has been that's got thousands of years of traction for the purpose of controlling you. Now, The reality is that we are simply asleep to a lot of things that we shouldn't be. And that's why being woke is not a bad thing. Because being woke means being aware, alert to the bullshit. And that's the thing. And religion basically puts you to sleep. I can't remember the name of this movie, but it dealt with some voodoo shit where basically people were they got they had this drug administered to them that made them appear dead. And then when they came to, people made them think that they were dead and that they were zombies. Well, that's what happens when you believe that you were dead and that you were resurrected. Basically, what you're taught is that you, my friend, are a zombie. And this whole apparatus feeds on the brains of the people who it's taught to. I mean, basically, this consumes your intellect. This consumes your spirit, your humanity. The purpose of it is just to hold you down. Because it's one thing to take a punch and be knocked down. Now, unless you are knocked out, you can get up from that punch. And unless you're killed by that punch, you'll get up and be able to fight another day, even if you can't continue that particular battle. But if you're dead, there is no hope. There is no coming back. Dead is dead. Now, let me go back to your Bible for a second, because your boy Jesus said, "Let the dead bury their dead." And I think that is one of those things that, like a broken clock that's right twice a day, that this is one of those things that it's on point. Let the dead bury their dead. In other words, if you and the funny thing is, like, obviously the dead can't bury their dead, but if you think you're dead, then you will want to bury your dead. And the other thing too is that when you think that you're dead, what you want to do, because misery loves company, you want to make others as dead as you. So the whole thing is that a lot of what we consider to be normal, and Aaron and I talked about the Overton window on Friday. You need to go back and watch that. But what is normal, and so basically, what is normal, what is essentially in the policy sweet spot, is death. Spiritual death, mental death, emotional death. Basically, all religion is death cult. And when you get caught up in that, the objective is for that religion to make you as dead as it is. But there's hope, because I'm here to tell you that you're not dead. And matter of fact, you never have been dead. You are simply asleep. Now, what do I mean by that? Because, see, one of the things that I do is I listen to audiobooks, podcasts, blinks, whatever. And I listen to them in my sleep. And so even though I'm asleep, I still have the capability, the ability to perceive the sound and to be able to process the information that's coming in through my ear gate. So I'm not dead, but I'm asleep. So I can still get information. You're asleep, and let me say this. If you are in religion, if you're in religion, or if you are bound by some political or other ideology, you're asleep. But you can wake up. And here's the wake up call. Number one, you're not dead. Number two, you're not bad by design. Number three, you are not in danger of angering any deity, and you are not in danger of any eternal punishment. I mean, basically, this life that we have, that we're living now, is the only life that we know of. We don't know of anything that happened before us. I mean, or before this slice of time, and we don't know what's going to happen after this slice of time. We have no idea. You have this, but you can't fully express or partake of this life while you are asleep. Because again, while you're sleeping, things happen, but you're not participating in them, at least not actively. If you're asleep, things happen and they just go past you. And people wonder why life passes them by. They will ask themselves, why don't I partake of the wealth of the world? Why don't I partake of the goodness of everything that's in the world? Why am I not a participant? And you're not a participant, my friend, because you are asleep. And when you realize that you've been duped, and this is the wake-up call, you've been duped, you've been flim-flammed, you've been bamboozled. When you realize this, you wake up, and now you come to the realization that you can participate in all the goodness of the world. Let me tell y'all a story. Once upon a time, I was of this mindset that who needs $1 million car? Or who needs $1 million watch? Or who needs a house with 10 bedrooms? Who needs this? And I used to say, even I used to, and trying to sound all pious and shit, I would say, I don't care how much money I have. I'm not getting any of this stuff. If I want a nice car, I'll buy a used car. If I want a nice watch, I'll buy something. I don't need a Richard Mille. I don't need a Patek Philippe. I don't need a Jacob and Company. I don't need a Long and Son. I don't need. I would say this, but let me tell you something. And see, I taught for 4 weeks on this book, Neuro Wisdom, and talked about the 4 pillars of wealth: motivation, decision making, creativity, and awareness, and why all of these things are important. Because these are things that, like, and especially awareness. Awareness is kind of tied into what we're talking about today, because that's being awake, being alert, being aware of what's going on around you, being aware of what the needs of others are, because he or she who solves problems gets paid. And this is the thing that I want each and every one of you to understand, because, you may say, well, I don't want a Louis Vuitton bag. Okay, fine. But don't begrudge anybody else who wants one, because watch this. The universe is making good shit for the consumption of people, or for people to consume, whether you participate in it or not. Let me say that again. The universe is constantly, through the dreams, the creativity, the awareness, the decision making, the motivation of others. The universe is making things for people's consumption, whether you participate or not. But this was my wake up call. If the universe is making this shit, why shouldn't I have some? Why shouldn't I have a Rolls Royce? Why shouldn't I have a Patek Philippe watch? Why shouldn't I have a mansion? I mean, some people are making this stuff, it's bought, it's built, it's bought, it's sold constantly. Somebody is participating in all this goodness. But you can't participate in it if you are asleep to it. And this is the point that I want to get to you, is that, people talk about that there's food shortages. Well, let me tell you something. That's a lie. Food producers right now are producing enough food for 12 to 13 billion people. 12 to 13 billion people. There are roughly 7 billion people on the planet. In other words, there is more than enough food. There's more than enough food. And then people talk about wealth. There is enough wealth for everyone in this world to have their basic needs met, and a lot of heart's desires too. But as long as we're asleep, we can't participate in that. So you have to awaken the sleeper. This is totally different than resurrecting the dead. Because again, when you start trying to raise the dead, there's a Rick Grimes out there that has got your number. If you are resurrected from the dead, you're a zombie and you're a threat to everyone around you. Now, let me say this, because there are things that should die and stay dead. I am of the mindset that religion should die and religion should stay dead. And I think that anyone who tries to resurrect religion once it's been finally eradicated, that they should meet the same fate as Bram Stoker's Dracula or Mary Shelley's Victor von Frankenstein. You don't go around raising the dead. There was a movie that it was a Brat Packer movie, Kiefer Sutherland, and I think oh God, I can't think of it, but it was called Flatliners. And basically what these young doctors were experimenting with, causing each other to die and come back, and it turned out just really horribly. The next thing that should die and stay dead is conservative ideology. This is my thing. I ask this question all the time. What the fuck is conservatism conserving? Man, conservatism shouldn't exist. I mean, basically, when people talk about progressivism being bad, but progressivism has progress in its name, moving forward, getting ahead, moving, advancing the state of the art, pushing the envelope. That's what progressive means. So conservatism is garbage. There is nothing in the past worth conserving. But see, what conservative wants to do is they want to conserve religious ideology. They want to conserve oppression and disenfranchisement. Those are things that conservatism wants to conserve. And honestly, you could conserve or preserve something. You could preserve food for later consumption, but it's never as good as fresh food. And we have this whole industry dedicated to the preservation of the dead. That's what conservatism does, is it preserves the dead. And now we're finding out that there are environmental um, ramifications to that. I mean, I understand the how it brings closure, and one of the things that I want to say is the death care industry is a ministry, a true ministry, not a religious ministry, but a true ministry to humanity. But that's another subject for another day. Um, but what is conservative? Why should conservatism live? Why should it? What? And once it dies, and see, this is the thing that I'm loving about what all the things that are going on now is that conservatism is dying. It's dying, and once it dies, don't fucking try to resurrect it. And let me say this: that the whole religious paradigm, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, it's dying. And but there are people out here constantly with the defibrillators trying to resurrect this thing. Y'all fucking let it die. Let humanity advance. Let humanity progress. Let humanity move forward. Stop trying to resurrect the dead. So on this particular day that has been called Resurrection Sunday, there is no resurrection, boys and girls. Dead is dead. And we should let what is dead stay dead. Stop trying to resurrect shit. Man, and let me tell you something. That science, even science isn't off the hook on this, because there are people right now that are trying to resurrect the woolly mammoth. If an animal went extinct, it probably went extinct for a reason. And you don't know what the upshot of resurrecting these fuckers is going to do to the rest of humanity. Y'all just need to stop. That's the thing. So on this particular Sunday where we celebrate, where Christianity celebrates this resurrection, first of all, boys and girls, there is no resurrection, and there will be no resurrection. There will be no dead rising first to be caught up in the air. There will be none of that. And there was no resurrection in the past. Dead is dead. And let the dead stay dead. Now, I highly encourage you to follow this podcast, subscribe to this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, click subscribe and the bell so that you get the notifications so you know when Forward Live is live. And if you're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or Twitter, Twitch, it's going on a lot of different places. Make sure you get the notifications so that you know when we go live. And also, I'm not sure if Aaron Tomlinson is going to do a show today, but if he does, y'all make sure y'all tune in, because Aaron is always breaking down spiritual paradigms and helping people raise their consciousness, right? And and then also on Thursdays, check out Unreligious, an atheist live stream with my man Jimmy Ligon. And later on tonight, maybe, I don't know, I didn't get a shout out or a message from these guys, but Daryl Carlson and Ben Urban, they do Daryl and Ben live on Sunday evenings. And then of course Freeology Friday with me and Aaron Tomlinson on Friday nights, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, um, on Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central. So make sure that you check out all of those shows. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you get the notifications, because all of this is good shit. And I'm not just telling you because I'm involved in it, but it's just good shit. And so I hope that that you hear this and that something quickens in your spirit, in your mind, in your soul. That you don't need religion. What you need is an awakening and an awareness that this is the only life that you know that you have, and make the most of it. So until the next time, y'all, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Peace and hair grease.